Today we're taking a look at the brand new 2025 Alpha AX-2, the 29 and 32 inch by Hoyt Archery. Welcome back to Mike's Archery, and today we are taking a look at the brand new 2025 lineup from Hoyt Archery, and we have got their new aluminum series here, the Alpha AX-2. They come in two different lengths, so we are going to go through both those bows simultaneously, the 29 and the 32. So as we take a look at the specs on these new bows, obviously we've got two different sizes, so I'll give you the numbers kind of bouncing back and forth as we go. Now the speeds on these are coming in at 340 feet per second on the 29 and 336 feet per second on the 32. Now the axle to axles aren't exactly 29 and 32, you've got them at 29 and a half and then 32 and 5/16. Once we took them out and measured the cam to cam length, we've got an overall cam to cam length of 34 and 1/16 and 37 and 3/16. Now as far as the brace height goes, on the shorter bow we've got it at 6 3/8 with a 6.5 inch brace height on the 32. Now the advertised weights on these bows are coming in at 4.25 pounds and 4.5 pounds respectively. And as we took them out of the box, we threw them on the scale. They actually came up on our scale weighing pretty much identical. We've got them at a real world out of the box weight of 4.6 pounds. And then once we took the new stubby off there, we got it down to 4.2 pounds. Frankly, that's pretty close. Seeing as how the 29 is advertised at 4.25, it's actually pretty much spot on. And with the 32 coming in actually a little bit under what the advertised weight is according to our scale. Now as we look at the draw length options, you do have several options here. Now the draw length modules have changed, but we'll get into that a little bit into the features of this bow. But on the 29, you're going to be able to adjust this bow from 25 out to 30 inches. And then on the 32 model, you're going to be able to go from 26 out to 31. Now as a side note, they did do a short draw model for this year. Because of this new cam design, they had to go to a short draw to be able to get the proper draw length options for shorter draw lengths. And so you've got a 23 to 27 option on that short draw model. Now as we take a look at the draw weights, you're able to order these bows pretty much the same as you always have, with a 40 pound out to an 80 pound on the top end. They've got that 65 pound option in there, otherwise every 10 pound increment, and that goes for both bows. Now that fits pretty much everybody. If you want a really lightweight bow, you're going to be able to get into this bow. If you're that guy that's chasing those heavy weights and keeping up with everybody, you can obviously bump these up and order an 80 pound option. Now if you are the short draw option, that bow is only going to go from 30 to 70. So you're going to be able to get a little lighter on that on the low end, but topping out at 70 pounds on a short draw. Now when we look at the Letoff, that stayed the same on this new design cam. We're still able to adjust it on that module from 75, 80, or 85% Letoff to get the proper feel that you want. Now as we look at the features of these new bows, obviously complete redesigns of basically everything. Right off the bat, the new cams with the HBX4 system, these new mods are a little bit different. We're not sure how much we love them, being as they only give you a 3/4 draw length adjustment option. So you're going to have to be able to get a different mod for every inch of draw length. So it's going to be a little more difficult if the dealer doesn't have mods on the wall to keep up with what you need. Hopefully Hoyt will be able to keep up with getting us mods so that you can get a proper draw length on your bow when you get it set up. But you're going to be able to get these from an increment of the 27 or 25 out to 30, 26 to 31, and it's going to go every inch, and then it will go a 3/4 of an inch difference below each one of those modules. So if you're getting a 29 inch mod on one of these bows, you're going to be able to take that down to 28 1/4 and 1/4 inch increments. Now granted, that did give better efficiency across all the draw lengths, and that is the positive note on this. So if you're looking to get the best efficiency out of your draw length, Hoyt has covered that. You're going to get a little better speeds out of it, although the top advertised speeds are not any better than what we're seeing from anybody else. You're still at 340 and 336, which is basically where everything else was. But if you were that guy shooting 27.5 or 28 inch draw length, you're probably going to see a little better performance than you would with the standard mod from the past few years. Now they also changed this cam and went to a split yoke system. It's got the splitter there, kind of wraps around the cam. That's helping them get a little better feel out of this more aggressive cam. Now as we get back to shooting in the lane, we'll talk a little bit more about that. Obviously, to get more speed out of these bows and to get more performance at these draw lengths, it is a more aggressive cam with a harsher draw cycle. Now, one of the other things they've changed, it is a shorter limb design on these new bows. So you've got a little shorter limb. That's how they got the shorter axle to axles. And then, of course, you've got new pockets to match up with that and the new riser design. It did appear to us that they removed those riser dampeners that they've had in the past, obviously shaving a little bit of weight there. We're hoping, as we talk about the feel of these bows, that it didn't sacrifice any of the vibration and deadness in your hand. Of course, from their advertisements, it doesn't. Now, as far as the other features of this bow, everything else after that is pretty much the same as what we've seen in the past. You've still got your inline integrated accessories. You're able to do an integrated QAD rest on these bows. Obviously, the pick rail sight, picking out whatever sight that you want to put on the front of these bows to keep it nice and tight and clean. And their quiver system has stayed the same for this year. So you still got the accessories, those inline quivers, bringing everything nice and tight against the bow. They did redesign that lower stubby stabilizer. It did look like it came in a few ounces lighter than the old one, but still giving you some vibration dampening ability and some balance up front from it. Now, they did keep with the same shim system, so as you look at these new design cams, they did not change that tuning system at the top or bottom. They are still a shim system using the same shims from before, so it's a little more difficult to tune these bows and work on them if you do truly need to make those adjustments. From there, they've kept the same great grip, the roller guard, the other features that we've loved about Hoyt for years, that tech riser design. It's still a solid, very quality made bow from Hoyt, as we always expect. Now, as we look at the color palette from Hoyt for 2025, they've kept with a very similar color option as they have had in the past. No real changes there. You've still got your solid colors with your black, that gray tombstone, a bourbon, as well as the wilderness. And then you've got your camo options changing up from the old Realtree to the new Realtree APX. They've obviously got the Mossy Oak Bottomlands and the First Light Circa that they introduced partway through the year last year. And then you've still got your QU Verde, your Subalpine, your Elevated 2, and then the Origin Raptor for Cam Hanes. Now, you still have those special color options as well if you want to do those upgrades and do the Bone Collector option in black or APX. And you can also do a Keep Hammering option also in black or the Origin Raptor. So that covers the colors that they've got, making some great looking bows for 2025. Now, as far as the price point on these new bows, they did bump the price up a little bit. Map retail on the 29 is going to come in at $13.49. And then map retail on the 32 is going to come in at $14.49. Now, with what we have seen from other manufacturers, so far most people have kept their pricing pretty similar to last year. Obviously, at this time, we haven't seen what Matthews is going to do, but we'll see if the price points go up on these bows. But Hoyt certainly took a slight price increase for 2025. Now, from here, we're going to step back to the lane. We're going to go ahead and shoot these bows over the chronograph, give you that breakdown as we always do from a 350 out to a 500 grain arrow, shooting these bows at 29-inch draw length, 70 pounds, and on 85% let off. All right, so we have stepped back here to the lane, and we are going to shoot some shots over these new Hoyts. We're going to give you a breakdown, obviously, as usual, shooting at 70 pounds, 29 inches, 85% let off. We're going to start with the new AX-229, and we're going to shoot that bow, give you the full breakdown. Then we'll grab the 32 and shoot that one, give you a breakdown on that one as well. So let's see what kind of numbers that these new bows are putting up. All right, so as we look at the 29, with a 350 grain arrow, we're getting 325 feet per second, which frankly is one of the faster bows we've seen. Now, as we drop off to a 400 grain arrow, we go down to 307. With a 450 grain arrow, we've got 289, and with a 500 grain arrow, it's 275. So frankly, putting up some really good speeds, which is exactly what we expected with this bow being a little more aggressive. And, you know, even though it's still IBOing at the same at 340, I think you're going to see those efficiencies at those lower draw lengths as you mess with it. You're going to see better speeds. Now, it's not overwhelmingly better. It's not something that's, you know, exceptionally faster, but I think you're going to see some efficiency improvements because of this new module system. Now, as we look at the decibel reading on that bow, we've got 98.4. So not terrible, about where we're seeing most things this year. You know, still going to be a nice, quiet hunting bow. No issues there. Now, the overall feel on this bow, obviously grip's the same. We love Hoyt's grip. It's always been a solid piece of the puzzle from Hoyt. From there, the draw cycle. I know we've watched some of the other folks' reviews. We've looked at these bows and shot them, and everybody's talking about how a 70 pulls like a 60. Frankly, it's a more aggressive cam. It stacks up a little bit more on the front end, which is, you know, to be expected, but a 70-pound bow still feels like a 70-pound bow. Is it smooth? Does the draw cycle come over nice? Absolutely. It does shoot well, and the draw cycle is pretty nice, but it is more aggressive than, say, last year's Alpha X or the RX-8s. It's just not quite as smooth, in my opinion, as this bow comes over. Now, as far as the back wall and the feel there, the valley feels just a little bit shorter than last year's bows, so what I'm feeling is you're going to have to shoot this a little more aggressively. You're going to feel it when it rolls over. Again, you're going to get used to it. It's not something to get, you know, crazy about, but it is a more aggressive cam than last year's bows, and you're going to notice that. But again, that's where you're getting the speeds. Now, when we look at that cam and that module system, like we've already talked about a little bit, frankly, from a dealer standpoint, I think you're going to struggle to get mods and keep mods in stock so that you always got a bow to fit you. It was much nicer and easier from a dealer standpoint to be able to adjust that, make it fit most folks. Couple mods covered everybody. Now you're going to have to do that for every single inch of draw length. I think you're going to see issues keeping these mods so that you can get a bow to fit you at a pro shop. We're going to do our best to keep those things on hand, so you might be able to pick some up here from the website if necessary. But after that, bow's dead in the hand. Exactly what we expect from Hoyt and have seen in the past. Like I said, quality of a Hoyt bow is second to none, and Hoyt has got a great platform for this year. We're pretty pleased with it overall. Other than the little things that we've talked about here, Hoyt's got a great package with the AX-2 So let's step over, grab a 32, give you the rundown of the specs on that longer axle to axle. All right, so we have grabbed the 32, and we're going to shoot this thing over the chronograph, give you a breakdown, same specs as usual. So let's see what this bow's doing. All right, so the 32 with a 350 grain arrow is coming in at 320 feet per second. With a 400 grain arrow, you've got 301. With a 450 grain arrow, we got 287. And then with a 500 grain arrow, we got 272. Again, really nice speeds out of this 32, being a little bit longer axle to axle. String angle is a little nicer for me personally. So overall, exactly what we expected. They're advertised at 4 feet a second different from the 29 to the 32. As an average across those numbers, we got, 3 to 5 feet per second depending on the weight of the arrow. So pretty much spot on. So the advertised speeds are pretty well what we expected. Now, as we look at the decibel reading on this bow, 95.9, so definitely a little bit quieter, not necessarily a lot, but it would be noticeable. And obviously with a slower bow and being a longer axle to axle, it would be expected that it would be a little bit quieter. The feel of the 32 is definitely a little smoother than the 29. It's still more aggressive, as we've talked about with this new cam system. So all the things from the 29 still apply here with the 32. You're going to get that little bit more aggressive cam, but you're going to get better speeds out of it, better performance out of it at your specific draw length, and the dead in the hand feel after the shot, still really nice. Now the back wall on this bow still feels a little bit shallow, but really not as bad as maybe on the 29. It sits really well in your hand. It's a rock solid back wall, still being a cable stop. Hoyt has got a great platform here. Now, the other thing we'd like to mention is even though they've went with shorter axle to axle bows this year, you've still got a large cam system here, so that when you roll those over, when you look at those overall cam to cam lengths that we talked about and that string angle, these shorter axle to axle bows will shoot like a longer axle to axle bow. So even though they are a 29 and 32, they're going to feel a little bit more like probably a 31 and a 34, probably a couple inches longer. And that gives you some more forgiveness and definitely a little better shot and stability out of these platforms. So if you're looking for a brand new Hoyt, be sure and stop in here at the shop, ask to shoot one of these new Alpha AX-2s, whether it be the 29 or the 32. Be sure and grab one here at Mike's Archery so we can get you set up. And as always, all the Hoyt accessories are available online in our web store, so be sure and pick up any accessories that you're not finding at your local pro shop.